working at the company, and we put many, many buildings over there, as you probably all know. Now, it was a very successful venture for us. We enjoyed it, and I felt that we can really achieve and do things. Now, after I left Storage Tech, we got involved in venture capital investments and real estate development. And we had our offices, again, across the way down here in Louisville, just other side of 36. And the reason why we operate in this area is because I live not too far away, East Boulder, behind Spanish Hills. We developed properties in Boulder, 55th and Arapahoe. We put a bunch of buildings out there in jointly with other folks. Then after that, we acquired some land at off Valmont, and we put a bunch of buildings there. It was really rather straightforward in the sense that you put a building up, spec building, and once it goes up, people are interested in renting it, and before you know it, it's all rented out. So you put the next building, and you do that, repeat it again and again, which was worked out pretty good for us. So we said, hey, maybe we should try something else here in this area. We were looking for actually offices for us, for our own operation. And one day I was driving down on my casket and I was looking to the right side coming down the hill. There was a small house with a beautiful pond next to it. It looked really like an ideal place to put a building to have our offices in. But of course, it's too big of a piece. So we bought it, 17 acres. Kind of too big to put just one office in it. So you get involved with that, you find yourself developing a property with 4 buildings, and obviously you see what we have done over there. We're proud of what we've done. Unfortunately, having one building there, you can say, how come we didn't put any more? We had difficulty getting it filled up. In Boulder, it was pretty easy. In here wasn't. People looked at it as being something way out by itself, not too attractive. To fill it up, I mean, our offices are there. We've been there all along for the past 10 years. We love it, we enjoy it. And we have tenants in there now, but we had to lower the rent to make it acceptable for the tenants to come and stay there. So we said, hey, let's see about building the next building. So we tried to kind of bid on jobs, having people make it attractive for them to come there, and we build to suit. Because what we do is we build buildings. We don't develop land, we actually develop parks, properties. And somehow we're not successful. We've talked to a lot of people, tried to get them to come there, it didn't work. So we didn't do anything. We just waited to see what happens with time. Philips was going to take the Storage Tech space and put a big operation there. So, well, that's fantastic. Let's give us a chance now to get more people into this area and put more buildings up here. Well, they disappeared. The town center here, we saw several people come and go, but by golly, now you got somebody. We talked to Randy, what he's doing out there. He's doing a great job. We like it. We think it's very good for us. And now we look at it, we say, hey, let's see what develops down there and then decide what to do up here. But that wasn't quite that simple, because we need to kind of mesh the property. As you look up in here and see, this is what we have, what we're proposing, but somehow we understand from Matt and Randy that for the 2 properties, the town center and the Discovery, to kind of coexist together, we need to kind of tie them together, get the roads to attach together, move a lot of the earth around, make some changes. We looked at that in the beginning. We were not too excited about doing anything. It's going to cost a lot of money to do that. And you say, hey, we should wait until, the town center develops before we start doing anything. But the more we looked at it, we said, maybe we should move forward and do it. And we have agreement. We have it planned together that we'll be talking about here today with you. And the plan, as you look at it, it has really some nice features to it, something we've added that we did not have before. We have a nice, now the pond that was there before was owned by Weinstein, who kind of kept it as separate from anything else. And the first thing he did, after we moved into the land there and started to build our building, he filled it up with dirt. No longer a pond, as nobody probably sees about it anymore. So we kind of liked the pond. You know, somehow, at Storage Tech we had a pond. At my house I have a pond. And somehow that's having a pond seems like missing something. I think the idea here is how do you attract people to come into this park? And I'm talking about this is an office park that has to be appealing. It has benefits to the people coming there. So we acquired, we're in the process, we actually have a contract with Weinstein to buy his property. And what we want to do there is add a pond and put some buildings in there. And at the same time, we also have added a few townhomes to make it like multi-purpose type property, to make it appeal to people who are going to be in those offices. Maybe some of them want to kind of live there and work there. So in combination, what we have in here, and you're going to hear more about that in details, is what we think could make it an appealing and give us the chance to get tenants to move in here and fill those buildings and make it a meaningful operation for us. Now, I'll pass it on now to Jim Ray. He's going to take it from here with a little more details on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Get my cheat sheet out here just in case I get some questions. Back up a little bit. So this is kind of an orientation or context sheet, which, zoom in a little bit. Gives you a little bit more context of what Jesse was talking about and what is actually happening. Today, this is the Discovery parcel, as you guys know, and the road that we built out to the eastern end with all great intentions originally, 10 years ago when it was done. But what you can see here is that the alignment of this road to work with the grade of the town center was not meeting the geometry that we had. And we had to, this road was going to end up being too steep. So what we had to do was put a little bit more of a bend in it and drag it down to the south. So that changed several things that we'll get into later. I'll cover those in a moment. But the rest of this is illustrating a couple of things that are happening with the parcel. One is the Weinstein parcel, which we're talking about, folding that into our property, and then also on the eastern side making some land swaps. So this is a land swap, this is a land swap, this corner is a land swap with the town center. And what that does is it allows us to join it with our open space southern parcel, combine this as one coherent piece, which is, allows us a lot more opportunity in development. So this is, scoot back out again. Not too much. This is basically the town center's use map. And what we've done here is overlaid that with the Discovery parcel. And what this is illustrating is the same roadwork we were looking at here for the Discovery Parkway. And you can see the bend here that I referenced. And then a new roadway which would have a new intersection here further to the south than the existing. And then that wraps back up around here. This is Jesse's Lake in the middle, with a large open space parcel around it here. And then this is the preserved open space buffer that's further to the south in association with the homes here at Rock Creek. And what's interesting about this also is, before I skip on to it, is showing how we're fitting in with the proposed development of the town center. And we see that the yellow is kind of continuation of the residential, which works well here. And then this blue, this lower portion, which is really a new opportunity for us. We had never anticipated being or having the opportunity to develop this lower portion. As you know, it's cut off from, with the topography, from the rest of Discovery because of the steepness of it. But once the Marshall Road extension comes down here, that opens this up and provides an opportunity for this to be developed as part of the town center and really just another extension of that. And so right now we've got this zoned in for, this baby blue is flex space, so it could be either commercial, live, work, or residential. And really want to follow in with what is happening in the trends of what is happening in the town center development to take the lead on that. And then what's in red here is office or commercial as it's zoned, but the intention would be to propagate the office use that we have here with multiple other buildings. So I'll get to that plan here. So this is an illustrative plan, which I'll start here at the northern end. Again, this is a flex building at the moment. Could be residential, could be commercial, could be the mix of the two. And it's working off of this new street here, and then this is the Marshall Road extension. We also took this as a great opportunity to build a pedestrian path from the lower area up around and between these two buildings and back around and create a little pocket park at the top of the hill here. This is pretty close to where the existing pavilion is that's up there right now. So it forms a nice little nexus there of pedestrian activity. It also helps kind of split up the residential here as well. So the notion here is some light residential, either condominiums or townhomes that are joined, party walls. You park on this on the southern portion, walk into your home, and actually step down and use the topography to our advantage. The views from here are obviously very good and wouldn't be compromised by any of the development that is happening out there. But also, more importantly, they fit the topography better than what we had originally proposed, which 10 years ago were larger office buildings on the topography, which would have been much more impactful. These are lighter, more flexible. The bay sizes are different, so it works very, very well with the topography. Just to the south of that, you can see this road shift, and it seems like a bit of a wiggle here. But based on the topography, what that really did is it really compromised what we had as far as a proposed building pad here for an office building. It basically wiped that out. And then it also changed the pad that we had located in this portion too. So right from the get-go, we said we've got to relook at this entire portion of what was originally approved based on the roadway. So that was the impetus of, well, let's look and see what might be some better uses. And once we realized we can't get that commercial building here, it might be down here, it really opened up the opportunity to look at the residential here. So then when we go to the southern portion of Discovery, of course we have our existing building over here and the existing parking lot. And so what we've done is created a bit of a loop road that comes around and joins back to Discovery and feeds back off of McCaslin. And then we've got two more office buildings that are similarly situated as to the existing one here that would be utilizing or expanding the berm that is built on McCaslin that's very well landscaped. That would be continued to the south with parking in front of it that would be screened by the berm. And then similar sized buildings, although these all of these three buildings here that we're proposing would be lower. They would be two-story buildings. And that's not to say that we're doing that for the height restriction on the view angle from Rock Creek, but mostly because we want to reduce the impact of paving and parking on the site. And parking three-story buildings is a lot more demanding than the two-story buildings. We're still retaining a three-story building over here on the eastern portion, which is still pretty well up on the hill here, and it's got parking both to the north and to the south. And then we share this southern parking field again with a smaller two-story building here on on the southeast corner. And then, of course, the big attribute here that we're talking about is this lake in the middle, and that really, it opened up the office park. It gave it a nice focal point, but also it was on this path that we had already talked about developing here on the northern parcel. We would bring it through the trail system that we've already established for the existing building, and then wrap it around the lake itself, and then connect it further to the south, and then into the open space, which would connect back to the McCaslin, and then it would connect to the town center's path that they also have in the buffer here. Just kind of scroll down a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. And so this is showing the existing houses that are down here in Rock Creek. This is also showing just I think this was 380 feet. It's kind of hard to see in this scale, but 380-foot distance from the house to actually the buffer. And then of course, we have a 50-foot non-build zone, and then the building is further off of that. So even this closest building is over 400 feet from the existing houses down here. This is helpful somewhat. It's maybe a little bit hard to read. But this is the existing site plan, or the existing approved site plan for Discovery. And it's just kind of showing you guys what we had planned, which I mentioned. This was a 20,000. This was our existing building that got built. A 20,000 square foot building here that was approved. Another 25,000 square foot building here, and a larger 40,000 square foot building. So when that road splays out up here, you can see how that compromises that proposed pad. And the thing to also understand is it wasn't just a two-dimensional issue of this road sweeping out further to the north. It was the fact that this road had to be graded down. And the road today is about 20 feet higher in elevation than the proposed road that would be going in. So there's a lot of land movement that's going to be happening here as part of that road work. So these are just some of the plans that are in your packet. There was actually two plans. The one I had shown you in color is maybe our preferred plan, but we did another plan here just for discussion. This one has a larger lake in it, and it has a different orientation of buildings. What we did, or what we're trying to show here, is that there is a potential to get another building in the Urban Renewal Authority, and the Weinstein property is not in the Urban Renewal Authority. So this potential building would place that into the Urban Renewal Authority. But it also makes it a little bit harder to access it. And so this actually has a different roadway alignment that puts it into the open space setback. So it's a little less palatable from that perspective. So, but we did want to at least put it on the table here for discussion, because the Urban Renewal Authority obviously has a lot of tax ramifications for everybody. So we can talk about that as we go on. Here's a couple of images here. This is this Pocket Park at the top of the trail. This would be more of a commercial version of that flex building that I mentioned at the toe of the hill on the north. And the path would be wrapping around between that and the residential here. And then this is showing, lighter residential buildings that are all working off of a parallel little parking court that's parallel to Discovery Parkway. And then this last view is looking from the homes, the existing Rock Creek homes, to directly north. And this is showing a proposed berm that we would like to see developed in the open space parcel. It would still be developed in a way that could be naturally vegetated. But what this is illustrating that is we're very easily able to screen all the parking that would be associated with those buildings. And then obviously you can see back beyond onto the lake and the development there. So I'll back it up to kind of the illustrative plan, and then if you guys like, we're mostly here to hear you guys' feedback, so I'd love to hear some of your questions and your thoughts.
Great, thanks. Anybody want to start? Trustee Williams and Trustee Gogros.
First of all, I wanted to see which building would be the tallest building there.
The tallest building would be either the existing building that's here today or potentially this one. These were all proposed as two-story buildings, and in fact, the topography of this area is actually lower. The current building up here is really at the high point of the site.
And how many stories is that one?
This is 3 stories.
Okay. And then what borders the northern and eastern edges of the property?
So the northern is the town center.
I mean specifics. What would be right at that point at the town center?
Let's go back up. So these blocks right here, this is flex space. This is more commercial space along McCaslin. So this is flex again. This is residential and residential again. And so, this is kind of the discussion I was making an allusion to as to whether or not we wanted to think of this flex space as kind of wrapping, or whether or not we wanted to think of this more as a residential relationship. So we really want to follow the lead of what is going to actually end up being developed here before we...
And then straight to the east?
Straight to the east is all residential.
It's all residential, okay. So can we go back to your plan?
Yeah.
So the northernmost building?
Correct. This one here?
Correct. What did you say that was going to be?
Well, right now, what we did is we zoned it the flex zoning, which allows it to be either commercial or residential or live-work combination of the two. So it's the arbitrary, non-committal zoning. And again, what we want to do is follow the lead of what actually gets developed there and mesh in with that.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I think that's absolutely key, especially what happens to the east. If I'm correct, those are single-family homes, I believe? Yeah. And I would be concerned for those single-family homes if they are dealing with a 3-story building or 2-story, whatever, that is just either blocking their views or
Right.
it is a commercial. If it was more like multifamily, I wouldn't be quite as concerned because it'd be very busy. But if you're in a single-family home, you kind of don't want to back to an office.
Correct.
So that's my
Correct.
biggest concern.
And honestly, our gut feeling is residential, but we do want to at least leave it open for discussion, which is why we're here tonight.
Thanks.
Trustee Gogros.
Yeah, similar with Trustee Williams. To me, it's an unusual thing to have residential properties that are sandwiched in between commercial to the south and then perhaps commercial to the north. That's kind of an unusual thing. It just looks...
Well,
Yeah,
I think we'll certainly, from based on your feedback, it's probably going to push the scales a little bit to look at that. Again, it was more so to try to tie in with the development that is going in.
Right.
And leaving that a little bit open to see what actually gets developed.
I mean, I can understand the other buildings, the office buildings to the south and the pond, but then when you get to residential, then you go back to commercial immediately. It's kind of an awkward...
Yeah, and honestly, as we've been looking at this, it's actually going to work a little bit better as a residential building. We could push it back a little bit. It could have, a little parallel drive court in the front. You can pull in with your garage down below and live up high. And so it would work out very well.
Trustee Bennington.
So if that does become residential, I think somewhere in here, just the townhomes or whatever, the 2 banks, we're about 46,000 square feet, if I'm right. If you make that flex space residential in its entirety, how much will that increase the residential square footage?
So the square footage we're showing right here is 21,000 square feet. Now, whether or not that all becomes residential or there's some fraction of that, we would have to look at that and see what kind of bay works, what sizing works. The other component here that you're seeing off to the left here is the current detention pond that's there. So we have to kind of balance that. As part of the operating agreement here, we're trying to keep as much of that detention on site as we can, with the understanding that some of this water can go off-site to the town center drainage, and then also work with this lake as well, which could also, as you've probably read in our narrative, could also be a potential for the town to store water in as well.
Okay, then one more question. How many surface parking spots are there at your current building?
Let's see if I have that. So there's 113 parking spots today.
And are they all surface, or just some?
No, there's some that are down below that are not part of that, or no, they are part of that 113.
So do you know what part is surface versus down below?
I don't.
Okay.
I can obviously get that information for you, but I don't have it at my
Right.
fingertips.
By my math, using the numbers you put on the diagram, you're proposing adding 562 surface spots around and about all those buildings.
Correct.
Okay, so, it may have been conveyed to you, we're a bit sensitive about how much land is taken up with surface parking spots. Are there alternatives to putting some of that down below those buildings as well?
That's a potential. It's a very costly potential. And also, as you all know, we live in very expansive soils and other things like that. So it's a very costly potential. What we've done, though, I mean, the building coverage is actually slightly down from what it was before. The open space is relatively close, but it's a few percentage off. So what we're trying to do is maintain that proportion. I think it's a little maybe unfair to say one building versus the number of buildings we propose. That number is certainly a large increase, but it's in proportion to the actual buildings. I also think that another potential would be to be able to look at the parking ratios that we have. We came up with a parking ratio of 1 to 300, for instance, which is still a little bit heavily parked. We could look at the parking reduction getting reduced, and I think that would be actually probably something we would I think, as part of the town center, once we start to see that everyone is living in this area, and people can actually walk or easily commute to this office facility, maybe we can start to look at that parking reduction.
Trustee Strelli, Trustee Hanson.
Right where you finished. Could you on this diagram show where the eastern land swap is resulting?
This line right here is basically the largest swap. There's some other minor swaps that are happening here, and then another one up in here as well. And this is kind of the key one that allows us to kind of bridge this parcel.
Okay. Without knowing the topography very well from sitting here and thinking about it, I'm concerned about the eastern building and the height of that. When you look at homes from Rock Creek, that's a sensitive view corridor, but not just from the people looking directly north. There's a bunch of people looking northwest.
Right, from back over here.
And that's right in it, so I have to see how that plays out.
Right, and we looked, and we actually kind of did a topographical version of this, but all these buildings would be within that view angle.
That's good to know.
Below that view angle, actually well below.
And, while I kind of agree with the concerns about mixing the residential or how that's going to work with the residential and office, I'm also concerned about adding any more residential to the whole town center project, so that's just a concern I have, more commercial is better as far as at this point in time, in my view.
Well, and I think what we see here is we see the ability to really unify and create what would be a very vibrant office park. What is much harder to develop is this northern parcel.
Sure.
And I don't think anyone's really aware of the fact that this may want to go residential. And then this portion is really very difficult to develop from the office perspective. And starts to blend better in.
Sure, we're not making any decisions tonight, just.
Sure.
Trustee Hanson?
Kind of the same concerns. So how many total residential units would be there? And would
Right
that
now-
be in addition to what we are planning for the town center?
Well, right now, we're showing, I believe that was 24 residential units here. I don't know if we know anything in regards to what that means for the grand total of the town center.
Okay.
2% increase.
You'd have to add the flex
And then,
as residential.
when I first heard about this, I wasn't real keen on having commercial in that spot. I guess I've just grown accustomed to having that open, and I like the way that looks. This at least helps make it look a little bit better than what I envisioned. But it'd be nice to be able to see some kind of three-dimensional model so we can see how it actually fits in with the residential that's already up there in Rock Creek.
Right.
And then the other point is that Discovery building that's there now, it wasn't expanded because there apparently wasn't enough demand. With the town center going in, one of the concerns is, are we going to be able to fill those commercial and retail units down there? And if we put more commercial here, that's going to clearly compete with the commercial that's down in the town center. So I'm wondering how that's going to work together.
Well, I think, I won't speak for the developer, but I think the notion is that this is more office park as opposed to the commercial space that is down below here is more retail and town center oriented. So the notion would be that if you have users, a 40,000 square foot office user, you're not necessarily going to be able to find that home down below. It would find their place in the office park.
Couple of questions. So what's the currently approved PD? How much square footage would be in all those buildings when they were combined?
So currently, there's approval for 120,000 square feet.
And there's
that's-
60 now?
And that's in, I have to look at the existing acreage, as opposed to what we're proposing, which is 244,000 square feet.
So the building is 30 or 60 now? Is that?
Right now, the existing building that's up there is about 34,000 square feet.
Uh-huh. So you would basically double the commercial footprint?
But we're doubling the
Yep.
the acreage as well.
And does that include the building that's on the north?
Yes, it does.
So if you exclude that building, what do you come up with?
Well, if we take out that building, which was, again, 46,000 square feet, so we're down to about 200, a little bit below 200,000 square feet, which would only be about an increase of 80,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. So in the 4 gray commercial buildings on the south, those are all 2-story?
These are 2-story. This would be
That's the
potentially
3-story?
3-story.
Uh-huh. Okay. So I'll just throw out what my concerns are. So my concerns are the buildings that are on actually the west side, or at least the one that's on the southwest side, that one there, and the parking field there.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you look at it, if I'm driving down the street, those basically are going to turn into a wall. So we need to figure out some way to break that up, because otherwise there's small gaps in between them, but from a car's perspective, you'd never be able to identify that as actually an opening.
Well, and also the development of trying to get this berm to work a little bit more. What happens today is as you travel south, this berm doesn't exist and is actually a little bit low. So you're seeing this building a lot earlier than you potentially would see these buildings.
So, for what it's worth, Department, so that parking area in the southwest building is an issue for me. So
Okay.
take it for what it's worth, Department.
Andrew, are you saying from the perspective of that east-west road, or from the perspective of McCaslin, or both?
McCaslin.
Okay.
So, it seems like if you can take out, from my perspective, I would decrease the amount of square footage there and concurrently decrease some of the parking field that's associated with that. I don't have, the rest of the site I don't have a huge issue with, and if the other building went residential, I don't think I have any particular heartburn about that issue. At the end of the day, it's all the quality of the materials and the quality of the landscaping and land planning that would go, if it makes sense or not, so
Right.
it would have to be.
And obviously, the quality that is already developed up here would carry forward in the office park. And again, taking the clues from town center, this is going to want to smell and feel like the town center.
Yeah.
And this is somewhere in between.
Yeah, so they should be, if we're talking about replanning something, I understand the reason why you need to do some of this, I totally get that, but if we're thinking about doing something like this, the buildings better look pretty darn good, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, for what it's worth. Trustee Pennington?
I'll say what I think we're all feeling is we really push for this Discovery connection, Discovery Parkway connection to McCaslin when we were going through the arduous PD approval process, and I'm really delighted that we're seeing something in front of us that might actually accomplish that. So I wanted to weigh in on the, I'm going to have to be convinced about adding additional residential as well.
And any other questions from the board?
I was going to ask you, will this be built in phases, assuming that you get the green light?
Well, the first phase that we're going to need approval for, and would actually somehow be split off so we could develop the FDP for, would be the roadway. That's obviously the major piece here.
Right.
In association with that, there's obviously a lot of grading that's going on, happening out there. And ideally, we would do a lot of the large land grading now. And so, and then after that, then it's more of a discussion of what we can build. That, it's back to Jesse's discussion of can he lure someone in to build an office building, or if these portions go to residential, obviously those are easier to build to spec.
Right, I guess where I was going with that is I would like to maybe consider the northernmost, perhaps commercial flex residential to be the very last thing you built, and to see what the landscape looks like, both in what you've developed and also what the town center looks like, before we make a decision on what that looks like.
Right. Well, it would certainly be phased. Potentially, the roadway and this residential might be in the earlier stages. This depends on how the office market does.
Right.
And then, to your point, this probably doesn't want to be the first thing built in town
No.
center. Yeah.
The last thing built, perhaps.
And what does your start to finish timeline look like?
We haven't looked at an overall schedule. Again, it's mostly, we've shotgunned this relationship together, which I think is to everyone's benefit. But all that's really facing us right now, or is in front of us, is really the road extension, making that work and make sense of the ripples that is created in the site.
Okay. So, question I ask whenever Weinstein comes forward, do you have any idea why they filled in the pond, and is there a representative of their group here?
I'm not aware of any.
What was the question?
Why the Weinstein property filled in their pond? I remember something about this at the time.
To me, it was liability.
Liability, and then also, my understanding was that he was, in discussions with annexation and was not happy, and so he intentionally did it to...
That is my recollection. And so, that's going to weigh in my mind. I'm going to be impartial whenever anything comes forward.
Well,
And I will weigh the pros and cons of any development with the understanding that I have that history.
right, well, hopefully, if this all starts to make sense, his name will fade into the, sunset there.
so that it will become the Awida Lake or something like that?
Right, yeah. So they're currently, as Jesse had said, they have a contract to purchase that land.
Okay.
Thank you. Very nice presentation.
All right, thanks. It's anybody?
I mean, that purchase is based on the annexation.
Yes.
so-
Yeah.
So it's dependent upon you to get rid of them.
Right. And so you know where I'm coming from.
Yes. We're all there.
Okay. Anything else? Anything from town staff? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think we have a few minutes break here.
And full salary.
You know. All right. So everybody's good? Yep. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order Town Superior Board of Trustees meeting for January 27, 2014. And Phyllis, if you'd call the roll.
Is everybody's mics on?
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor Andrew Muckle?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Joe Sorelli?
Here.
Trustee Zelia Gregorius?
Here?
Chris Hansen?
Here.
Sandy Pennington?
Here.
Lisa Skumatz? Oh, sorry. Deborah Williams?
Here.
Town Manager Beth Moisky?
Assistant Town Manager here.
Town Administrator Carberry?
Here.
Town Clerk Folsom?
All right, very good. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Trustee Pennington.
Pool 7E, please.
7A?
I think that's...
E or A?
Or E? E. Okay.
Is that the flower? Mine doesn't have letters on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's
It's
the
the
flowers.
Vargas property, yeah.
Okay, I have a question about, were we going to discuss or ask questions about the liquor license?
Yes.
So we need to pull that then.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes?
And I just want to make an amendment to the minutes of the ProStac meeting.
Yeah, so just to bring it up with Phyllis offline, if that's okay. All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion for the agenda with those changes. Trustee Hansen, second by Trustee Sorelli. Discussion, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. That brings us to item number 4, reports, questions, and issues. Trustee Hansen, do you want to start?
Sure. Attended a ProStac meeting on the 15th of January. Real good discussion on the community engagement process for the Town Center civic spaces. And want to remind everybody, there's been all kinds of mailings going out via email, postcards, and whatnot for the upcoming meetings, the community engagement process. On Thursday, February 6th at 6:30 p.m. at the fire station, the community is invited to give their input on the civic space. And then again on Wednesday, February 19th at 6:30 at Town Hall, the community is also invited for a second meeting on the community engagement process for the civic space at Town Center. And that's it.
Great. Trustee Sorelli?
I really have nothing to report. There was a historical commission meeting that I missed, and Trustee Skumatz sat in for me, but she's not here tonight, so we'll have to catch up on that when the minutes come through. I was away because I went to visit my brother in New York, in the New York City area, and I'll share a little inside information to anybody going to the Super Bowl. The game is not in New York City.
It's not in Manhattan.
It's not in Manhattan. It's in the greater New York area. It's in New Jersey, and if the governor doesn't create any traffic jams on bridges, they'll have no trouble getting there.
Very good. Let's see, I think the only thing I have to mention is that had a couple of meetings related to RTD, and I think everybody might have heard that the plan for BRT is that they're have purchased or are going to have a contract to purchase essentially the same over-the-road or very similar over-the-road coaches that's out there now, but I think RTD is committed to branding them. I believe that that's the case. It always seems to go back and forth. And that when new technologies come online, that those buses would be replaced with more BRT type of vehicles. And that seemed to be the best solution at the moment. We were all hoping that the best vehicle out there would be available, but the technological requirements that we were hoping for really isn't in the market at the moment. So
Do you know how many buses?
26 or that sort of
I
number?
thought it was 59.
Okay, I don't remember.
50s.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So when they brand them, do they lasso them three legs and whip them?
Exactly. The hot iron, yeah. So, and that with that, the number of buses in terms of the frequency will go up. So, the one downside with the new buses is that they don't carry as many bikes, but they feel that with the increased frequency, they'll be able to carry the same amount of bicycles within the corridor. So.
And so I have to ask, is this a good purchase in the fact that how many years will they be using these buses, and where will these buses go when they end up with a BRT version?
Right, so, good question, and RTD feels confident that they have other needs for buses like this in other parts of their system, so they'd be recycled into those locations.
In the metro area. Okay.
That's all I had. Trustee Williams?
I have a couple things. The Dr. Cog meeting was canceled for this month, which is the Denver Regional Council of Governments. And I went to a town hall meeting with State Senator Jeannie Nicholson and Representative Diane Primavera, which was not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before that. And it was a great meeting. There were about maybe 15 people total. And got to hear about just some of the priority bills that they're interested in pushing this session. One of them is an education bill. It's a higher ed bill to cap tuition increases per year from 9% to 6%, so that, every year it doesn't go over 6%, although that's still significant based on how much public universities cost today. Then there's also some kind of firefighter health bill grant funds that they're looking to do based on all the wildfires that we had last year. They kind of feel that the health of these firefighters are, significantly at risk, so they're hoping to set up a grant on that. And then there's a big deal on this tobacco bill to ban dissolvables to minors that are under 18. Currently, a minor can purchase any kind of dissolvable, which is, it's like mints that have either tobacco or nicotine in them, or what I call breath mints or breath sheets, those breath sheets that you get that freshen your breath. Well, they also have those, I forgot the name of them, some funky weird name, but they're basically in the category of dissolvables, and a minor can purchase those legally. And but they can't buy cigarettes or I think you call that snuff. I don't know. I'm not a tobacco user, so
Dip, snuff.
dip, snuff, whatever. Those minors are not allowed to buy, and they will be carded, but dissolvables are not the case. So they're hoping to kind of close up that little hole. And then I also have a First Fridays that I am holding the first Friday of February, which is almost around the corner. That's February 7th at 7:30 in the morning on a Friday to about 9:30. It usually goes, I stay longer, usually 10 or 11. So if you can't make it at 9:30, please come later. And my topic, I usually have a topic, but I'm going to call this BYOT, bring your own topic. That's it.
Quick question, Deb. Did Senator Nicholson mention anything about Jefferson Parkway, or?
Absolutely zero.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Gross?
Just out of curiosity, these dissolvables, you put them in your mouth so you can smell like tobacco breath? Or what's...
No,
I really don't know. I'm asking.
No, how you smell
So you can smell like an ashtray?
That is extremely important, because the problem with these dissolvables is they're flavored. So if you're a kid and you like mint or watermelon or strawberry, and you see them on the shelf, you don't know that they're tobacco or nicotine. And if you're, say you're in 5th grade, you're probably not even, you don't even know what that means, maybe. I don't know. But they're flavored. And so kids are drawn to them, and that's half the problem.
So it smells like mint, but you're intaking nicotine.
Correct.
How clever. Quite ingenious, I have to say. All right, so we had our safety and transportation meeting at 5 o'clock today with Trustee Pennington and Trustee Williams. Alex went over a couple of items on McCaslin interchange. I don't know how much detail we want to go into it, but basically our transportation plan, 2014, I believe is 99.9% done. So we should have it out to the rest of the trustees and to the community. Will be online, I think, Lisa, sometime tomorrow. Great, so everybody will have access to that. One quick question to you. We're scheduled to meet at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, right, to tour the town center. If it's snowing, are we still doing it? The weather is not looking great.
That's actually predicted to be the nicest day of the week.
It is supposed to be?
It is supposed to be.
At this
Okay.
point in time, if anything changes, we'll let you know.
Okay.
Bring muddy boots.
And the plan's to be doing it via truck, it won't be walking.
Okay.
And the plan was to be doing it by truck
And not walking.
and not walking, I
In the mud.
believe.
So then we really don't need boots.
Well, I'm
Bring your own boots.
Yes. BYOB. Okay.
All right, that's what
Very funny.
Go ahead.
On the transportation plan that Elia mentioned, it was originally the 2012 transportation plan that Alex and crew put together concurrent with the comp plan. And we asked that a lot of stuff in it be reconsidered, town center be brought into it, et cetera. So it's actually had about an extra full year, 14 months of deliberation, and this is a case in which all that time has really produced much better results, I think. So compliments, particularly to staff, because I think we've got a great document that's going to stand the test of time. January 9th, had a meeting with the Louisville Library Board. Usage, they gave annual usage numbers for the library, which is still measured in terms of hard copy circulation. There apparently is no new mechanism to take a look at the ebook edition or impact. So based on hard copy circulation, they're down just slightly, which is the first year in the 4 years I've been on it that we've ever had any downward shifts. So it's still a very positive circulation. Our percentage actually inched up a nudge to 20.7% versus 20.3. So, our financing of that amenity for our residents was pretty much predicated on somewhere around 20%, so we're still there. I've put in front of you the visualization of what this little library concept is. The Louisville Library Board is pretty serious about supporting these throughout the community. Yeah, we can pass them through the crowd, too, if you're interested. They're just little boxes that look like little houses of various creative types that are put in people's front yards, and it's a take one, bring one type of concept. And so this is going to be a little bit of a involved process for Louisville, at least, to undertake. I actually think it might be a little simpler here for us in Superior. But anyway, I just want to throw this. I had mentioned it verbally, but I didn't have the visual the last time, and I don't know if we have to make it an official item to agree to explore this further, or can we do that with a head nod?
I think we can explore it further, but Trustee Sorelli and I were discussing this earlier, and I think at least in Rock Creek, they wouldn't be allowed.
Right. I've already checked with the HOA. They're currently not allowed, so I think it would have to be limited to Original Town. Somebody mentioned potentially one in Community Park. Maybe Safeway would agree to have some cute little thing there. It's just for residents to be able to bring and take. They've assigned responsibilities on this exploration to various people. Home Depot is enthusiastic about building these and supplying them. I had asked Beth to check into potential involvement from an Eagle Scout who might want to make this an Eagle Scout project. So apparently there has been some identification of some Eagle Scout with responsibilities yet to be determined. But the whole thing is, they will probably brand them with some logo on them that calls them Little Louisville Libraries. So they're going to try to sort of, remind people about the Louisville Library on the face of all of these things. So we'll see if that's this little library, to what degree it's copyright and all that kind of stuff. But don't be surprised if ultimately they have some name. Maybe we can ask to have ours named Little Superior Libraries.
That sounds a lot more enticing to me.
There are some in Boulder. There was at least one in Rock Creek, and I think it's probably long gone by now.
There are quite a few
I don't see it
in
anymore.
Louisville. And you can actually register them on this official site, which is why I included that clip from Parade Magazine. But it appears most of them pretty homegrown, just borrowing the
How do you
concept.
protect them from vandalism or from, you just,
You don't. I guess if you...
they're awfully cute, but,
Yeah.
Sandy, who puts the books in them to start with?
It's usually a homeowner. A homeowner is inspired, builds this, puts the books in, and then people take one and bring one, and
So Louisville isn't planning on, if we put 4 of these around town, putting...
yes, they are. They have a real surplus of used books, and so they're actually intending to make those used books available to pepper these things with books as well. So if you want to build one but don't really have the books, they'll supply the used books for that purpose.
And it's built on this book swap. I don't know if you've ever done bookswap.com. It's kind of the new thing that people use to recycle their books and get new books, especially if they're in a book club or something like that.
I was just wondering if Louisville's making the initial donation of books, then I can see them wanting to put their name on them.
You know what? I think it's more just a gesture to encourage reading all over the place. One element of this whole thing is to create some sort of amenity at community food shares to supply particularly children's books to the parents of people who shop at community food shares. So, as Louisville Library Board's role matures, the library's built, the library's functioning well, et cetera, they're trying to figure out these outreach things in which we can put books into the hands of people who like books or want books or need books and can't afford them. So it's all in that.
Maybe there's an opportunity with the Eagle Scout to do like what Elia's son did, where he collected hundreds, 900 books or 1,000 books.
over 1,000 books.
Right.
And maybe this Eagle Scout that puts
Right.
these in can also do an outreach to get books to supply them. Then you don't have to do this.
Right.
This whole grant.
Yeah, we could,
That's a great idea, and another thing that comes to mind is this potential of collaboration with community food shares. Summer reading program, we're considering, that's very popular, considering that being bring a can every time you come to every time you come to summer reading, and thereby those would be supplied to community food shares as well. So it's community helping community, and so if your scouts, et cetera, or any scouts want to participate in food gathering is always a good thing.
So it's not necessarily a program we have to get Louisville to tie into. We can do this on our own.
Right.
Absolutely. But it's sort of fun to
Sure.
make it all work together.
I mean, I think if you build this, the books will come, guaranteed. So many people have an abundance of books that they want to do something with them, and usually they don't know what to do with them, so,
And Jim Payne's going to wince back there, I'm sure, but maybe, just maybe, we can even loosen up the anti-signage thing in Rock Creek to allow books. I mean, who can be against books? But anyway, Jim, I'll let you guys decide that one. I had a August 8th OSAC meeting. I don't know when this is going to come forth, but they officially recommended the acquisition of Shan Shan. And I think it was in the minutes in this packet, but I don't know how that officially comes forward, or does it officially come forward to this group?
I think this is as official as it gets.
Official, okay. National Trails Day, which is a new endeavor OSAC is launching, is scheduled for June 7th in conjunction with the National Trails Day thing. It's not just a Superior thing, so mark your calendars for that. They're also, they were authorized in the 2014 budget money for an outdoor education consultant to help put together some programming things at trailheads and such. They're exploring how to go about that. In that vein, I really want to encourage this board to set up our annual meetings with the advisory committees and planning commission. You know, we sort of lost sight of that in the hubbub of the PD and town center process, so I'd like to see that, make sure that goes forth. Give me one sec here. Appears to be all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the Assistant Town Manager?
Thank you. Just a little bit of follow-up from the previous meeting. You asked us to put online and make accessible information regarding the environmental assessment for INREL, as well as the Northwest Area Mobility Study public meetings. So we posted those, and we did e-blasts and posted on Facebook and did various ways for folks to learn about those. The High Plains traffic signal advanced warning light has been installed. You may have noticed that. I wanted to reiterate the 4 o'clock tour for the town board with the Ranch Capital folks. They'll have trucks sufficient for all of us. I'll be joining you that day. Wear your work boots and jeans.
Where are we? It's probably in the email, but where are we meeting?
We're going to meet
Discovery.
where the
Discovery.
groundbreaking was, so at the
Okay.
end of Discovery Parkway. Historical Commission came up with a list of possible street names, and they'll prioritize their list and their upcoming meeting and share that with the developer. Let's see if there's anything else. There is, Alex go into this a little bit more, but I'm understanding that they're shifting dates and changes with the weather regarding some of the closures with construction of US 36. So it's a moving target, but as we get notified of anything, we'll make sure that our residents know all about those changes and detours and things like that. I think that's really it from us.
Good, thank you. Anything from the Town Attorney?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Town Clerk? All right, thank you. That brings us to item number 5, public comment on consent agenda and non-agenda items.
Hi, I'm Victoria Funk. I live at 3135 East Yarrow Circle. And please pardon me because I'm not the best at public speaking, so I wrote some things down. I'm the owner of Superior Kid Care, a licensed in-home daycare operating within the Rock Creek subdivision. I would like to petition the board for permission to use the full extent of my state of Colorado daycare license, which is 8 children total. I have been licensed since 2003 and have been providing affordable quality in-home care for our local Rock Creek families and those working within the town, such as teachers, administrative staff for our local schools. I am an active member of the Child Care Association of Boulder and Broomfield Child Care Association, as well as the State of Colorado Child Care Association. I have served on the board of the Boulder County Child Care Association, and personally know that we have had trouble recruiting providers in the town of Superior because of the strict restrictions. Currently, there are only about 5 licensed in-home daycares in our town. That's about 30 kids with a population of over 12,000. I do not feel the current code is working for the majority of our community. I've had a wait list of mostly Superior residents since the beginning of my business in 2003. I currently have 10 families on my wait list, and I turn down 2 families a week by phone and 2 by email. While I do not feel it's in the best interest of the town to have a large in-home daycare, which is about 12 children, I do, however, feel that it is reasonable to allow daycare homes to have 8 kids when they are licensed by this state of Colorado. Many surrounding towns, including Boulder, allow licensed in-home daycares to have up to 12 children. The board should know that this number includes the provider's own children, which hardly makes running a daycare in the town of Superior profitable. There is a shortage of quality daycares in Superior, and our littlest residents are being placed in homes that have no rules or regulations because parents don't have many options that don't include a large center. Since beginning my daycare in 2003, I've never had a traffic complaint and do not feel my services would add any additional traffic disturbances, since I mostly cater to families within the town of Superior. Currently, I have 6 children in my care, and of those, 4 of the families are from Superior, and of those 4, 2 of those families actually just walk to my home. I would like to present the board with some letters written from 2 families on my wait list, if possible. I didn't bring enough copies.
Oh, that's fine. Why don't you give it to Phyllis real quick?
And I'd like to read a small portion of one of the letters to you. To whom it may concern, as a parent living in Boulder County, I have consistently found it incredibly difficult to find high-quality child care for my son. In December 2013, assuming that a 9-month advance would be more than enough, I began searching for child care for my son to begin in August of 2014. Despite using a variety of resources and contacting numerous people, I have yet to find any licensed in-home daycare providers with availability for that time. The problem is not that high-quality providers are not out there. The problem lies in the fact that there is limited availability amongst these providers. As a parent and as a community member, I urge you to consider Vicki's proposal to increase the maximum from 6 to 8. This change would only serve to enhance and enrich our community. Sincerely, Kristen Michelson. In conclusion, I'm not asking for a large home rezoning, just an additional 2 children added, which would allow for a slight help in the congestion of children that are left without placement in a home with a daycare provider that complies with all state, county, and town rules and regulations. I offer an invaluable service to our community and request for the board's approval of 8 children to licensed daycare homes in Superior. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Trustee Henson?
So Kristen, this came before the board about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and the biggest concern, you mentioned it, was traffic, that you've never had traffic complaints. That was the biggest concern. What I would suggest is that you get together with the other 4 daycares that you know of, and you guys come back to us and prove to the board that there isn't going to be a traffic issue. That doesn't mean it's going to be approved, but I would still say that you should come together and come back to us. I think it's a good idea. There's 2 in my neighborhood that have asked this, and I think that you guys should come back.
Along those lines, I think, so that's always been my concern, although I've actually never visualized it being a traffic issue. But it might make sense also to get some testimonials from your neighbors who are next to you to see whether or not they're having an issue, neighbors that don't have kids in your home. So that's just as a possibility, something to explore. Trustee Williams?
And actually, I'd like to see what the code is for Louisville, Broomfield, Lafayette. And I understand Louisville, they have 12 kids, right? Yeah. Because I do recall that, using someone who was able to have 12.
And so does Broomfield.
And Broomfield does too, okay. I can't see a reason not to do it. You're only asking to add 2 more, and you're not asking for 12. I think I'd like to have it come before the board so that we can at least discuss it, see the code of our neighbors, and discuss what the pitfalls are. And it would be great if we do that, whether it's a work session, that we could have you and some of the others that own their own businesses in town to come for like testimony or whatever.
Trustee Pennington?
Another request from staff would actually be to have the details of what it takes to be a licensed provider and what the provider per child ratio is, those sorts of details answered, as well as the background checks and that kind of stuff that have to be done to be licensed, if that is a requirement or not?
Oh, yeah, we're required to have FBI fingerprinted, and we have to do 18-plus hours of continuing education, as well as we're inspected every year by the State of Colorado and Children's Services. So, you know, the requirements to get licensed is a 6-month period. And the thing of it is, to be able to have 8 children, you have to be an experienced provider, which I am. The state of Colorado allows its experienced providers to have up to 12 children. But of course, I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for 8. And the state would, you know, say, all right, you could do 8. But in conclusion, yeah, we do have to, you know, abide by all
Meet requirements.
What are the other providers? Have you spoken to the other providers in Superior? And what do they say about 8?
I've spoken to one other provider, and she was excited to have 8. She would probably be the only other provider that's experienced. Otherwise, we are actually capped at 6, with 2 that can come from school. So during the day, it would only be 6. And then if any of them can walk to the daycare providers, which, you know, depends on where they live, they would have 8 then. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one last thought. I would recommend to the board not to have this come in a work session, but come in an actual meeting.
Yeah, so just in terms of process, actually, this should go before the Planning Commission for their approval, just to make sure that so it won't happen quickly, but I would suggest having them, so I'm thinking out loud here, and the attorney can keep me in line if I am thinking inappropriately, but that you would come forward to make sure that the board is interested in this, and then we would, if that's the case, then we would direct this to the Planning Commission for their review.
Yes. That's generally the procedure we follow, so.
So
that would be
it
my
sounds like the
recommendation.
board is interested in this as we speak today.
This came to the board before, and it was voted down.
It was voted down, so.
So...
Was it voted for 8 or 12? Because I understand it
It was
came up
voted for any increase.
for any increase.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm a proponent for it.
I am too. I think it's a very reasonable request.
I'd like to have the discussion with the providers and really understand what they do, and let's approve this.
That's what I think so, too.
Once again, I'd recommend that the Planning Commission weigh in on it, so if we want...
But can't we do a work session first before it goes to the Planning Commission?
Yeah, no
And
problem.
decide whether or not you want to pursue it. I think that would make the most sense.
I think that's where we're at right now.
But I think we are...
I think we just need more
I think
information.
there's a majority here that feels that to move it forward to the Planning Commission, so...
It's really up to you all how you'd like to proceed.
You know, this could be in parallel. It doesn't make, I don't think we have to be officially, if you want to discuss it with the board and have the Planning Commission looking at it at the same time.
Why can't we kill 2 birds with one stone, have a work session, and invite the Planning Commission to
Because
attend that?
I don't know.
Because
They'll need to actually...
Is this land use code?
It is, they will still need to see an ordinance. You could invite them, certainly, but then we'll have to draft the ordinance, send it to the Planning Commission for their review, then it comes to you, so.
I wouldn't want to
We're not
rush
at
it.
that point.
I wouldn't want to rush
Yeah, I
it, because
agree.
I'd like to give them time to get together and get all their facts together, and then come and meet with us. I'd like to know who they are, and then that gives us time to kind of get our ducks in a row, and we can get an agenda set, and then we can get the Planning
But
Commission
you
agenda
have to,
set.
That's why
you have
we
to
need a
remember,
session.
whatever you're doing may be, how we're going to change things may have nothing to do with who comes before us this particular time. So,
Yep.
it's got to be a good idea.
Right.
Okay.
And I think the bottom line is we're not ready for policy at this point.
Okay, so maybe it might make sense to be in contact with town staff.
Okay. Let me give you my card. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Additional public comment?
It's town staff she's being in contact with.
Right there, we saw it.
Good evening, Jim Payne, Superior resident, also secretary of the HOA, Rock Creek HOA, to just point out that the Rock Creek HOA has jurisdiction over this, too. So if we're talking about killing, and I think it would be maybe more of a challenge for us than for you, but I can't speak for the board, but we've looked at this before. But if you're talking about killing multiple birds with one stone, maybe we can participate in the same process.
Right.
So the residents do not have to go through multiple hurdles.
Great
So-
idea.
So you're volunteering to be killed?
Thank you. Additional public comment?
How convenient.
Hi, Clint Folsom, Chair of the Planning Commission. Just to clarify, we have talked about this. It was 6-8 months ago. This issue did come before Planning Commission, so I don't know that we need to see it again. I think we maybe just resurrect those notes and go from there.
What was the discussion
Yeah,
and the
remember
result
what, yeah.
of the planning commission?
The discussion, there was concerns about traffic,
Yep.
and my recollection from the packet was that we did have a neighbor complaint as part of the packet, and that was a big reason for concern of expanding the use.
And did you guys vote against it?
We voted it down.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how that didn't come to you.
Yeah,
I think
they probably
we-
did, but
I think we don't remember it, that's all.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, thank you very much.
Wait, can I ask you one more question? And this was a different issue than, or it was brought to your attention, not from the current person that just brought it forth now, correct?
I would need to review the notes to make sure, but it sounds eerily familiar.
Okay, and then the vote, was it unanimous or was?
Again, I don't recall,
recall.
but
Okay.
it did seem to be very decisive.
I recall that it was a different
That's what I
provider than
recall too,
this
and
resident here.
it wasn't unanimous, but I don't know.
But it can't be
Well, let's
like
move on,
George said, it has to be a...
Yeah, it's not based upon if you like the person or not.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, thank you. Appreciate it. Additional public comment? Seeing none, thanks. That brings us to item number 6, presentations, and tonight we have a representative of Solar Communities. Yes? No?
Good evening, yes, she made it in the traffic and the weather. We've got Rebecca Cantwell, the Senior Program Director for the Solar Friendly Communities. She's here to present the Town of Superior with the silver level of the Solar Friendly Community Certification. Solar Friendly Communities encourages the expansion of solar energy by making it easier for citizens to go solar and working with communities to streamline the solar permitting process. And our Chief Building Official, Ernie Kern, is also here. He worked with town staff to help try and meet as many of the points that we possibly can. And as a member of that group as well, I do want to let you know that we do have a goal of getting to gold.
Great.
But we wanted to apply right away to see, because we thought we could get some recognition to start, and we'll keep going.
Very good, thank you. And thank you for coming.
Hi. Yeah, thank you very much. This is an exciting evening, and I'm pleased to be with you. As Beth said, I'm Rebecca Cantwell. I'm the Senior Program Director of Solar Friendly Communities. This is really, it's truly a partnership between the solar industry and cities and counties and nonprofits. It's designed to make it faster, easier, and more affordable for citizens to go solar. We think it's a really good thing for communities as well as for solar installers to streamline the process, because the demand for solar just keeps on growing and growing and growing, and if it's easier for your permitting folks to deal with it, it'll be sort of more efficient for everybody going forward. So we think it's really a true win-win program. It's also part of something pretty big. It's part of something called the Sunshot Initiative. Some of you may recall the Moonshot Initiative, of the big national goal of going to the moon. This is in some ways just as ambitious. The goal is to get the cost of solar energy to be cost competitive with all other forms of energy without subsidies by the year 2020. And believe it or not, things that happen in a place like Superior have a lot to do with that, because the biggest part of a rooftop solar system's costs now is not the panels themselves. They've come way down in cost. It's all the other so-called soft costs, including local permitting. So by making local permitting easier, it dramatically really reduces the cost of solar kind of in aggregate. So Superior's a third Boulder County municipality that we've honored. Actually, Boulder and Longmont, the two biggest cities, have not yet signed on, nor has Louisville, so you're ahead of them. We have recognized Nederland and Lafayette, and also Boulder County. In fact, the chief building official of Boulder County, Gary Goodell, was on the steering committee that developed the program. So the program was developed in conjunction with municipal code officials. Superior becomes the 12th Colorado community to be honored, including all of the biggest cities in the state. So you're joining the cities of Denver, Aurora, Lakewood, Fort Collins, Arvada, Nederland, Carbondale, Parker, Lafayette, Boulder County, and the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, which supervises all building in all of El Paso County, so Colorado Springs, the county, and all the smaller jurisdictions. So they've all been, joined with us. So it's really catching on, and we're really delighted that Superior decided to engage in it. So the program allows communities to earn points for certain processes and improving certain things, and Superior's really done a great job by earning over 1,000 points, 1,025 points out of a possible of 1,600 to qualify for silver recognition. And the town got the points by doing a whole variety of things to make solar permitting easier, including posting requirements in an online checklist, kind of so everyone knows what the rules of the game are. It seems sort of like a no-brainer, but many communities don't do that. Just let everybody know what your requirements are so they can sort of plan accordingly. And you also got a lot of points for allowing online permit submission and really offering a short window for scheduling inspections, which again is a direct bottom line benefit to the installer who doesn't have to have a crew sitting on a site for a whole day or multiple days. So one of the really exciting benefits of the program is what we call the Solar Friendly Communities Discount Program. So as I said, it's a true partnership, and the solar community has joined in the partnership by voluntarily agreeing to offer $500 discounts to each resident for each system in a solar-friendly community. And so we're going to invite the town to help us get the word out about that, because that is a true benefit. We have 16 different companies, including many that are based in Boulder County and that work predominantly in Boulder County, have signed on to this program. So we think that's a wonderful endorsement of the fact that this really does have, a bottom line benefit and really is a very powerful partnership. So we really hope it's going to give you some good recognition and help you in both economic and environmental ways. That discount program is the most tangible thing. But we also have a couple of presents that we want to present to you, Mayor Muckle, and maybe get a photo.
Sure.
We have
Presents, I always like
we
presents.
have a beautiful plaque that says leadership in making our community solar friendly, making it faster, easier, and more affordable to go solar. So I'd like to present this to you. And then we have the most important thing, we have your road sign, which we're hoping you're going to put in a really prominent place somewhere around town.
We get that in the background, just so it says Town of Superior above our
Yeah, maybe we
heads.
can, so here's your road sign, and it's very roadworthy. It's,
You can put it up there, you can take a picture.
you want to go up here?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Cheer. So these are actually cropping up all over. Here.
I might be killing people, sorry. Don't like you.
Just wait a minute.
Thank you. All right.
Good thing it wasn't the American flag.
Okay.
Good thing we're on the eagle.
Here, why
Yeah.
don't you hold that?
That, the official thing. right by the
Hopefully
sign.
get some more of the-
Yeah.
Deb, you want to pull that?
Get some more of the town board in.
Everybody come down.
Yeah, everybody. Everybody get in the picture. Hopefully we'll get lots of pictures and get the word
Just so
out.
everybody look at this guy in the center too, that way at least, we're all in the same place.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Congratulations.
And shall I put this,
Thank you. It's an entryway sign, solar friendly.
We can have like a whole billboard of signs there. Didn't see it.
We can check that base.
Yeah.
Multi-talented.
Back from our end, I'll tell you what.
There you go.
Slow motion.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to item number 6, the consent agenda, and remaining on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes of the December 9th, 2013, and the December 16th, 2013, and the December 20th, 2013 Board of Trustees meetings. Acceptance of the meeting notes for the Open Space Advisory Committee and the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee, and approval of the Historical Commission, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Parks, Recreation, Trails, and Open Space Advisory Committee, the Recycling and Conservation Advisory Committee, and the Planning Commission work plans. With that, I'll entertain a motion. Trustee Cirilli, second Trustee Williams, discussion.
Just, I asked Phyllis to amend the...
Yes. Right, very good.
I have to bow out of the minutes in 7A.
Okay. With that, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you very much. That brings us to what was D, approval of a liquor license renewal for a Sushi Yoshi restaurant. Trustee Cirilli, did you want to open this up, or
No,
Assistant Town Manager?
Yeah, why don't we just let the town manager, I only pulled it because we were going to discuss it, so.
Okay.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Great, thank you.
All right, I'll go ahead and introduce the topic. This is a renewal application from the state of Colorado for Sushi Yoshi restaurant, which expires on March 8th of this year. Under Section 6-2-70 of the Municipal Code, the Liquor Licensing Authority may grant the renewal application by approving it. The Sheriff's Department has recommended approval of the renewal. There's one significant issue that we need to bring before you tonight. On February 15th in 2013, the State of Colorado Liquor Enforcement Division conducted an investigation, and in March, Sushi Yoshi Restaurant and the Liquor Enforcement Division entered into a stipulation agreement in order agreeing to a 15-day suspension with their license to be actively suspended for 5 days from May 26th, 2013 to May 30th, 2013, and 10 days held in abeyance for a period of 1 year from the date of approval of the stipulation, which was signed on March 14th, 2013. So a representative from Sushi Yoshi is here tonight and can speak to this.
Okay, very good, thank you. So this would be an opportune time to come forward and...
And, Mr. Mayor, just for the
Yes.
record, I believe you also all received an email from the town clerk,
Yes.
which was forwarded from the owner, the licensee, and I just want to make sure that's part of the record.
Part of the record, absolutely, thank you. Welcome, and name and address, if you wouldn't mind terribly.
Okay, my name is Ayumi Shiuchi. Address, restaurant address?
Yeah.
406 Center Drive, number D as dog. Superior, Colorado.
Can we get you to speak into the microphone a little bit?
Can you pull that? Yeah, pull it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would you mind going over what happened exactly?
On the evening, we were so busy, and the server just so overwhelmed, and she just forgot to check this, nice-looking customer's ID. And then she ordered a small beer, and then the server just served her a small beer.
Okay.
And then we have fined, and we did pay the fine. And also, we were recommended to take some online courses, which we have completed, and we all have, the servers and a manager all have certification. And also, all the servers are checking customers' ID as they, order alcoholic beverage. And also, we have made a large sign at the server's station, which is located by the cooler alcoholic beverage. That's the way it's kept. And the sign says in big orange letters, born on 1993 today, so that we, actually are preventing serving minors. Okay, and also we do have ID checkbook, which is located at the server station to check customers' ID who are, if we just came to visit the state of Colorado, out of state. And also, we haven't had any new employees since then, but if we have a new employee or employees on board, then they will have to take all of them have to take alcoholic serving classes. So in the morning and afternoon meetings, that we rehashing each other to check customers' ID who orders, alcoholic beverages, so that we are going to prevent serving minors in future, and so it's not going to happen again.
Okay, very good.
Can I ask one question? How old was the person, the minor that was served that beer?
We were never told.
Oh, you were never told?
And we didn't even question because we are so in shock. And we are also so busy at the restaurant serving other customers at the time.
Any other questions? So I just have to, we take serving minors very seriously here in the town of Superior. We've had issues in the past. We've had other restaurants that have come forward with similar problems to yours. So from my perspective, I'm willing to go forward at this time to approve the license, but I think we can be clear to you that we don't want to hear anything like this ever again from the restaurant.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thanks. Trustee Cirilli?
Yes, if there's no further questions, I'd like to move that the board approve the liquor license renewal for Sushi Yoshi Restaurant for the next 12 months.
Okay, motion by Trustee Cirilli. Is there a second? Trustee Gregoris, any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us to E, adoption of a resolution approving an agreement with Vargas Property Services for flower bed installation. Trustee Pennington, I believe I've been here before.
But this is going to be short and sweet.
Okay.
I actually pay attention to these every year. I'm a gardener, and so I do pay attention to them, and I think Vargas and Company did a fantastic job last year. Kudos to staff, Martin and Alan. I know, Martin, I don't see you out there as much deadheading and all this kind of stuff. I see Alan out there all the time, and I really appreciate the interest staff takes in this. So kudos all around. I think it was a very successful program. I actually love the cottage theme, and that's the only one I wanted to thank everybody. But the only little shortcoming I saw in this proposal, and it may not be a shortcoming because it depends about how this is going to appear visually, is 23 different beds have the exact same combination of flowers. Celosia lantana yellow and this Serenity dark purple variety. And I don't want to go back to the year where we had every bed the red, white, and blue banding. I'm going to trust staff to review all this and make sure we don't have 6 of this particular bed right next to each other. I thought what we did last year was really fresh and inviting, and it was well scattered about, and it was beautiful. So I just would ask that staff try to achieve that again, working with Vargas. That's the only reason I brought it forward.
That is short.
That is short.
Shocked.
All right.
I'm amazed.
Any board discussion of this particular item? Anybody from the public want to comment on this particular item? Seeing none, Trustee Pennington?
I recommend approval of Town of Superior Resolution R10, Series 2014, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior approving an agreement between the town and Vargas Property Services for flower bed installation.
Motion by Trustee Pennington, second by Trustee Williams. Any further discussion? Phyllis?
Pennington?
Yes.
Buckle?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Gregoris?
Yes, great job.
Shirley?
Yes.
Great job.
Williams?
Yes.
Great, thanks. That brings us to 8, which is discussion of the diverging diamond interchange. Assistant Town Manager?
Okay, tonight, we've got Alex Arenello, our Public Works and Utilities Director, who's going to update you on the phasing, landscaping, gas line relocation, and interchange lighting with respect to the DDI and US 36 McCaslin. And
Great, thanks. Thank you, Alex Arenello, Director of Public Works. And tonight I'd like to talk about phasing, the high-pressure gas line relocation, lighting, cemetery access, and landscaping. So a lot's been happening since the last time I updated you, and I wanted to just make sure you're aware of various things that are going on with the contractor. We meet with them it's every 2 weeks. It's almost every week now as they get closer and closer to construction. So things are moving. You're familiar with the Express Lanes project. It's actually 16 miles long from over Federal Boulevard all the way into Table Mesa. It has a BRT HOV managed lane in the center, a lane in each direction, bridge construction, new bikeway, and the Phase 1, which is from Federal just past 88th, is scheduled to be complete in early 2015, and Phase 2 in early 2016. This is the DDI, which you've seen several times in the past. Involves new improved on-ramps and off-ramps, a new pedestrian underpass that Superior is paying for under McCaslin, new eastbound and westbound bus ramps, widening of the existing bridge, 2 bridges over the RTD ramps, 2 new bus loading stations, the aesthetic archway, and the new bikeway. I wanted to talk first of all about the phasing. So this is what we're going to be seeing, and now it's pushed back probably till the end of February, but you may start seeing the traffic control going up. And what we're going to have is construction starting on the east side of McCaslin, across Plaza Drive, Plaza Way here, and right by Breaks Plus. There's going to be a retaining wall that's being built right by Breaks Plus, some improvements to the ramp, and then they'll be working on the bridge, widening the bridge on the east side, and then improvements on the Louisville side. With this, I'll just show you another diagram. This is facing the other way, so north is to the right, and Breaks Plus is down here. So this is the area by Breaks Plus that will be under construction, as well as the bridge. So they're going to be putting Jersey barriers, the concrete barriers on McCaslin, kind of restricting or separating that area. Sorry, go back. Separating the construction area from the travel lanes. And then the bridge construction will take place. One thing you'll notice right away in terms of laneage, right now we have 6 lanes on the bridge, 3 southbound lanes, and 1 becomes a right turn onto the loop. And you have 3 northbound lanes, 1 is a left turn lane. So 6 lanes, they'll be taking a lane away, and the lane they're going to be taking away is the right turn lane going to the loop. So that lane will be a shared through left lane. So you can, at this point, you'll have a decision whether to go right on the loop or continue, straight southbound. So that's one of the first things you'll see from a capacity standpoint that may affect operations. The other thing that happens with this phase is that they're working on the sidewalk on the bridge. So all the pedestrians will be detoured to the west side of the bridge. So you'll have 2-way traffic and the bikes as well on that side. So that'll be difficult during this phase. And then they'll be taking out, one of the first things they'll be doing is taking out the median on McCaslin from Marshall up to the ramps and then over the bridge. So they'll be taking that median out and then replacing it with pavement so they can start shifting lanes around. The traffic going northbound and southbound, you can see the dots, those are barrels, so the
the northbound and southbound traffic will be separated by traffic control barrels and cones and so forth. So that'll be the first phase. And that lasts, it'll be starting the end of February and lasting through June. And then the next phase is a short phase from August to mid-September, where they start doing some improvements on the center of the bridge. And in this particular phase, they take away the loop. So they're starting the construction in this area here, so the loop goes away. And so southbound, instead of going on the loop to Denver, now you go back to a left turn onto the ramp. So those of you who've been around here remember before the loop, you had these short left turn lanes, so you'll have a left turn here and a left turn lane there. They'll be pretty short, and so we expect some congestion to occur because that's what it was before. So this will be the situation, and this could last 8 or 9 months as we have those short left turn lanes.
Will that southbound lane where they'll be turning left be shared with the through southbound?
No, it'll be
So it'll be
separate.
a distinct left turn lane?
And that phase 2 is this year or next year?
This year.
It is this year.
In August, yes.
Have you anticipated what the traffic backup is going to be both sides? And
I've asked them, have you done some modeling or some evaluation of those impacts? And so we're working on that
It's
right
going to
now.
be miserable
Yes.
for 6 months, and if as much information as we can give to the residents, just let them know it's going to happen, be ready for it with alternatives.
Yes. So we're going to try to figure out the backups that we're going to have. We're going to try to get the word out, use Marshall or other routes if you go into Boulder, and other routes to go to Denver, because yes, it's going to be tough during that 9-month period. And then the next phase, they would be working on the west side of the bridge, and they'll move traffic over. We'll have the same situation, a short southbound left turn lane and a short northbound left turn lane. And this is as far as I've gotten in terms of the phasing. One thing that happens on this particular phase is, since the traffic here, you can see it's right next, they've taken the sidewalk out on that side, and they're working over here, so there's no room for pedestrians in this particular phase. So they're rerouting all the pedestrian traffic over to the RTD bridge. So it's not going to be fun.
Especially in winter.
Another thing I wanted to update you on is the high-pressure gas line, and that runs right now. This red line here is where it runs across the interchange, and here's a conflict point where we're building a new ramp, and that goes down. This is the new ramp. See, here's the conflict right around here. So they have to relocate this line, and this is the route that they're going to run, the new line. And so we've been negotiating with Excel and CDOT on various alignments. This is the one that looks like it's going to carry forward. And so that'll have to be staged as the construction progresses. Another thing that's progressing, and you'll see this in the next couple of weeks. Remember, we had the bikeway pedestrian bridge, and we had the pipes that were going underneath it. So there's the pipes that are out there now, and they need to get rid of those and get this bridge going before the water flows in May, the ditch water flows in May. So they're going to be right here. This is the cemetery, and this is the road that goes down through the underpass. The underpass is going to be filled in, and they're going to be grading out and filling in the road that goes down. And they need to do that so they grade this area and get the bikeway to go up to the bridge. So this is going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. So I want to alert you to the fact that that's happening. Also, our access to the cemetery will go away, and we've suggested that we could probably live without it for a couple of months. But by Memorial Day, by mid-May, we'd like to restore another path or route to get to the cemetery. And we're working with the town center developer to try to figure that out. So the access will come from the Superior side, well, right now it's been coming from the Louisville side. So that's, the underpass will go away, and then we'll provide another route to go through the town center to get to the cemetery. Another thing that's happening in a couple of weeks, it was originally scheduled for February 8th to take those pipelines down. They have to close the main line for a night while they drop the pipes off. So originally it was scheduled for February 8th. Looks like it's going to slip a couple of weeks. But when they shut that out, they're going to detour traffic up 96th Street, up to Dillon Road, and down back to McCaslin. For Superior people, we won't take that route. We'll use 96th Street to go down to Flatiron's Crossing Drive and come through Colton. But I'm glad they chose this route, so all the traffic goes through Louisville, not through Superior. So we've given them the okay on this. So that'll happen towards the end of February. Another thing that I want to make you aware of, because I wasn't until they presented these plans for, but we have ramp metering on the westbound on-ramp going to Boulder. They're also going to be putting it on the eastbound ramp. So this is going to occur as part of the main line improvements. So why don't you make you aware so that just as in a period you don't know about it, but that's going forward.
What do you mean by ramp metering? The on-off light thing, is it?
Yeah, the red, green, so you can't, it won't be free-flowing on the ramp. You'll have to stop and wait for the green light. Lighting, we're starting to have discussions with the contractor in Louisville about the type of lighting. And right now, in the contract that the CDOT has with plenary team is that they replace the lighting in kind. Well, what's out there now is high-pressure sodium. And so we've been discussing with them, can we upgrade or change out to LED to lower our energy costs? We pay for the lighting, the green lights are the ones that we're paying for now along the main line and on the ramps. And so this could be an upfront cost for us, but we get a payback over several years. So that may be a budget item we come back to. We haven't gotten the cost yet. I wanted to bounce it off of you to see if you're receptive to doing that. Don't know what the cost is.
What's Louisville doing on their side?
Yeah, I mean, we're both saying, yeah, we'd like to go LED. Why don't you tell us, what the costs go? So we haven't gotten those numbers back, but we're negotiating. This plan also shows where the lighting is planned. The green ones are the ones on the Superior side. You can see some of the lights these lights will actually be on the poles for the traffic signals. These little ones it's hard to show on the bridge are the pedestrian level lighting, and they're talking about just insetting lights along the Jersey barriers, kind of low lights for pedestrians to have some way to find their way on the center walkway. We also have lighting through the underpass and through the RTD underpass, under the bridge for the bikeway on the Louisville side. So we're working out the lighting package, and we hope to get LEDs put on, but there may be an additional upfront cost. Okay, finally, landscaping. We've seen the first go-around for the landscaping. And a couple issues here. This was the landscaping drawing that we had included in the original aesthetic package that you had seen last year, 2 years ago. Remember, we had the basket handles, but part of that was a landscape plan. What we didn't do a good job of is really defining what happens in this area here for the eastbound ramp. So nothing was really planned. And then when we received the drawing this is the first drawing that we got from the contractor, and you can see there's not much planned over here. And we thought, well, we needed really to look at that area. What's our vision for that area? What do we want to do? And so we called in the original landscape architect that had worked on those plans and said, hey, what are your ideas? Because, we really haven't thought about this area. So this is a plan that they've put together that kind of provides landscaping to blend in with the rest of the marketplace. Here's the marketplace. Here's the existing walk, and the eastbound ramp comes right here. So we thought we want to, get turf grass and kind of blend it in with the marketplace, which is right over here, and the storm drainage ponds and so forth. But we didn't really like keeping that existing walk. We thought we should have a more direct connection with the BRT station and a pedestrian underpass, and make it more of a direct connection versus what is in the plan now, where the walk to the pedestrian underpass just ties in with the existing walk. If you've ever been on that walk, it goes behind a waste receptacle, has to cross an access drive. It's not a very enjoyable walk. We thought we could probably spruce it up and provide a nice tie-in to the McCaslin path, bring that into the pedestrian path that's going to come from the underpass and tie into the BRT station and make this a straighter path. RTD liked this. We bounced it off RTD, and they said, the buses are waiting back here, and this is providing a better line of sight for pedestrians that are trying to catch a bus, that the drivers can see them coming down, whereas right now they get caught behind, when they're over here, they get caught behind the landscaping and the receptacle here. So it's a more direct look.
Alec, the underpass is for pedestrians and bikes?
Yes.
In the anticipated time of completion of that underpass?
It's going on at the same time as the interchange construction.
Okay.
So we're looking at this area. This is a pretty big area, and we wanted to, we need a better concept than what we never really took it very far. So we've taken it far. You can see here's kind of an upgrade to the entrance to the underpass. With flower beds and walls and make it a little pretty as you go down under instead of just a black.
Is that the one that's 14 feet?
Mm-hmm.
But not the 18 feet?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So over here, you can see a sketch kind of looking from the DDI, from the bridge, looking towards Sports Authority, is it Whole Foods? And then, additional plantings, and we've specified, some plant species, but make it more on the order of the marketplace rather than just the...
So Alex, what's happening in like 2011 or something, we authorized significant chunk of change, like, I don't know, $20,000 or whatever for $40,000 worth of this double row of deciduous trees coming off 36 heading south. What's happening to those?
Well,
are they biting the dust or are they being reused?
See if I can see where the ramp is. Well, a lot of it is right in this area here where the new ramp's going to be.
I think they're at risk.
And if we can relocate any of those trees, we'll bring them over. But
who does that? Does Vargas do that for us, or how do we?
Well, the contractor. The contractor.
The landscaping contractor?
For CDOT, yeah. But the big issue right now is to see if they would build the hardscape here. They're planning on building this, but we would like them to extend this on into the BRT station. So we're kind of saying, well, you build that, and then we'll come back and do the rest of this landscaping, because we don't think we're going to get a whole lot from the contract in terms of landscaping, and we think we want to provide landscaping that's going to fit into the market.
Well, if they can be saved, would we want to reuse them in this area?
Those trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for Alan. Leave Alan's name. If we can save any of them, we can, but, pretty much they're probably going to be mowed down. So.
Martin wouldn't let that happen.
This is going to be a lot nicer. So we wanted to run that concept by you, and we're negotiating with them how much can they build, and then if we have to come back later on and do that. We're also looking at potential upgrading of the bike parking, maybe putting a bike cage here, maybe having an area here for potential B-cycle, if we ever get a B-cycle station, this could be an area here, along here that, and maybe some bike, bike repair things that could be those types of functions could happen over there. We also looked at whether, well, here's our economic development, whether we can get another pad out of this by extending the, we have an access lane here, can anything over here be an actual pad for retail development, but...
A bike shop.
Bike shop, yeah. Starbucks.
So what is RTD or CDOT paying for at this point, for this section we're talking about here? Just the concrete for the
Well,
walkways?
we're going to try to get RTD to pay for all the concrete work.
Just the concrete work?
Concrete work and whatever...
And the bike paths, or whatever, receptacles or whatever they're
Right.
called.
Yeah, so we're trying to get them, and they'll pay for extending the irrigation lines and the power and all that in terms of getting, lighting in that area. So we're negotiating right now, because we never really put a lot of thought into this, and I think what we've done here is trying to extend the marketplace into this area and provide a really nice, attractive area for the bike path to connect to the underpass.
So we would pay for the landscaping?
The landscaping.
So is there any way that we can uproot all those trees before they mow them down?
I can work with Alan to see what we can do, yes.
It's worth a definite look. Also, we've got a town center developer who's incorporated a lot of landscaping requirements in the town center. He might be motivated to...
Get some of those
I
trees.
hate for him to go to be mowed down.
We'll keep looking at that.
So, Alec,
I think that's all I had, and that's the
just
project.
as a reminder, when's this all supposed to be done, since we're talking about starting phasing already? When does
Well, the whole
DEI
project's supposed to be done by the end of 2015, early 2016.
The interchange is in
The
particular?
interchange and the managed lanes.
Yeah, but I was hoping the interchange might be a little ahead of the managed.
And, they've shown that, the phasing going through April of 2015. They haven't shown any phasing after that, so there really isn't any reason why they couldn't open the interchange sooner, if there's nothing on the ramps that need to be done. So I haven't gotten any schedule passed.
I'm just trying to, when our impacts to McCaslin and to our businesses and all, we can look forward to that being coming to an end.
So, along those lines, is there a way to, excuse me, to minimize the impacts during the holiday shopping period for the marketplace?
Yes, I think we can work with the contractor on that to make sure we, Black Friday or any of the high shopping days, that they're, making sure they're maintaining access.
So, along those lines, whatever, we might, maybe we should even spend some money, to maximize any throughput through the interchange during that timeline, because it's, that might be money well spent, somebody that's actually there trying to make sure that things are working well, because we obviously want people to come and have an enjoyable shopping experience in the marketplace, and we don't want to do anything that would potentially turn people off. So
Right.
I think you know where I'm coming from.
And we may, if it gets to the end of 2015, I don't want to have big impacts occur during the shopping center, shopping days, maybe wait until after the first of the year when those shopping season's over.
So are we planning outreach with our retailers to inform them to expect all this?
We've already had our first meeting with them a couple of weeks ago. We invited all the businesses really from Superior Plaza, because they're losing that one access. So we wanted to make sure they knew about it, looked at and we showed them the signing plans and tried to get their input on an additional signing needed during that period. So we already reached out to them.
Are we communicating in writing to those who may have missed that meeting? Did everybody make it?
Yeah, everybody that was informed.
Good.
Not all of them could come, but we certainly have their
Okay.
addresses, and we communicate.
Yeah, as long as everybody is totally informed ahead of all of this.
Trustee Williams.
It looks like you have a real app on that phone up there. What is that app?
This ties you directly into the US 36 express lanes, and then you can get alerts, and you get up-to-date information on any detours or lane, closures.
For example, you would have really wanted to know that they were closing 36 last week at 10 o'clock.
So is it an app, or is it just a mobile web address that you go to?
It's an app. I
really?
I think they have an app.
You can link to it through our website.
What is the name of it?
What's the app? I think if you get on their website,
Yeah.
you
Go to
can,
okay.
you click right on, and they can
Is there
download
any
it.
possibility that we could send out a e-blast to our community, to residents on this mobile app that they can connect to and put on their phone? I think so many people would use this when, one, they're taking the bus, or two, they're driving and there's a problem, or, just to be alerted on what's going on and when, and I think that would be.
Sure. I'm not finding it in the App Store at the moment, so.
It's a website link, but we'll connect, we'll
Figure out how to do
communicate,
that,
connect with you.
That would be great. I just think that that would be an email that I would be saving if I got that.
Great.
Anything else? So I have a couple of questions. So in terms of the bridge, we talked about architectural lighting. It sounds like, is that going away on the bridge? We had the fancy lights with it that look nice and.
On the braided
On the
arch?
bridge itself, yeah.
No. They're having just the low-level lighting for the pedestrian on the Jersey barrier. I think that's something that was included in the original architectural package, and if that's something of interest to the board, I could say, we want, I know that, we have
think we should
pedestrian
at
lighting,
least see
but you're talking about lighting of the arch?
Right.
Yeah, we talked about architectural lighting, to
I
make
think
it...
in the drawings that we saw when we
Right.
were meeting with Louisville, there was,
They
I don't remember what they look like, but
I remember what they look like. I can't even
They
think,
were
but they
attractive.
look like torch lights that were every other beam.
It will stand substantial to the impact, so yeah, that needs to be revisited.
Oh, because I saw that and they left them off, so I'll bring that up, this was in our plan, why isn't
and maybe this looks better, but we should at least know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. And we are having, we have the monument signs on the abutments, so we're trying to get details on how those are going to be lit. Is it backlit? Is it, a light from down below? So we're just starting to get those details.
Yeah, that's great. I think maybe we need to see that whole aesthetic treatment again,
Sure.
as it evolves and before it's too late to make a difference.
Sure.
Okay. And then, so thank you. So the location of the pedestrian bridge is still being, we didn't talk about it tonight, mostly just the cemetery access, but it reminds me also that they've committed to moving the pedestrian bridge, or the bike bridge, I should say, towards Denver.
They shifted
or
it
east. And that's still,
30 feet to the east.
and that's still,
Yes.
okay, that's all I had. Trustee Williams?
And in my packet, I have the construction schedule for June to mid-August, and then I have another page that's construction schedule February 1 to June, and doesn't say any date, and then that's it. I don't have, what you have up there was Phase 2. It was different than what I have here. And is that on the website? Our website?
This is, September to mid-April.
Yeah, I don't have all that.
Okay.
That's not the same thing. And I was thinking of maybe putting those out and having them available at my first Fridays, just to alert
Yeah,
people that.
we'll email that to the board. That's the one you didn't get. Okay.
Thanks.
Did you just pull up the app?
It's not an app, it's just the mobile,
Oh, it is, you just type that address in?
so you just have to keep it, I assume, in your favorites or whatever.
Make it a favorite.
Great, thanks. Anything else?
Oh, I do have one thing else. Not on this, though, I keep forgetting, did we ever restore the lighting on Indiana by El Dorado K8? It had all gone out, the street lighting, in the fall. I had raised it as an issue in an old meeting. It was
This is the-
completely dark.
This is
walking
the lighting on Indiana, street lighting?
Indiana, in front of and to the south. Is it, oh, Heather seems to know something about it.
We are, we've inventoried all the out streetlights, and we're meeting with Excel February 5th
February, yeah, that's right, the 5th.
to talk about the, kind of the poor service we get in terms of getting some of these lights back on.
Does Excel have to change those out?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It was very dark.
We get the same poor services.
I think those are on
every-
the,
Yeah.
Okay, they're all working, Heather? Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah. Any timeline about putting up the pole that went down on Rock Creek Parkway?
Excuse me?
The one that, the street pole, or the street light that got knocked down on Rock Creek Parkway, is there any
yeah.
timeline for that?
Near 15?
Yeah, there's been a number, there's one on Rock Creek Parkway, there's one on Mike Haslam, there's one on Sycamore, and there's several like those that...
I see.
That we're going to kind of call them on the carpet, We've called these in, what's the status?
Yeah, okay, thanks. Anything else?
Excuse me.
By the way, it is an app.
Is that? I couldn't find it.
Yeah, right here. So you go to there and you just there.
Oh, okay.
And you can install it.
I don't think the people on the camera can see that.
Okay.
well, we'll make sure they know.
All right, thanks. Well, let's see, that brings us to item number 9, an executive session to hold a conference with the town's attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, parent 4, parent B, regarding the Randall case, and to consider personnel matters pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, parent 4, parent F, for the town manager's evaluation. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Trustee Hanson, second by Trustee Sorelli. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. We're in executive session. We'll take a minute or two break as needed.